Hey YouTube, how you going? Welcome to another video. In this week I am covering basically a recap of week 3 of Founder University, and then also sharing a little bit of an update on my startup Oqire. A couple of exciting things on the branding and design front, as well as the kind of one sentence that summarizes what Oqire is and what I'm aiming to do with the startup. Anyway, just as a high level recap for the week, we had a 1 hour branding and design session with a guy called Scott, who's a previous founder, or is a founder from one of the previous cohorts, being cohort 1. Scott's startup is Timewell, and I had the good fortune of connecting with Scott prior to basically Founder University, as I'd seen he'd been involved, and I reached out just to get some feedback on Founder University and that kind of thing. So good to have seen someone I've already spoken to kind of come back to the class and present what they're experts at, and that is branding and design. So Scott kind of shared a lot around brand strategy, what brand strategy is, what brand strategy isn't. Hint, it's not just your logo, and talked about why people buy into certain brands. Covered topics like what's your company's purpose, its mission, its vision, the values that you have, before you start getting into things like the look and the feel, and then the goals and the tactics that you use to go to market. So I'm not going to kind of recap that whole 1 hour thing. There was a lot of really good takeaways. For me, I think the big one was defining what your purpose, your mission and your vision, your values, etc. are up front. While I think a lot of the time they're in a lot of founders' heads, and I certainly have kind of like a strong alignment with what I want to do with Oqire, putting it down on paper just helps you solidify what it is that you're actually trying to achieve, and what you're going to hold both yourself, your company, and hopefully future employees accountable for. Like, what's that driving mission that's going to take you forward? Scott shared a number of different ones, from across the startup universe of different companies that have done this previously, both for the purpose statement, the mission statement, vision statements, that kind of thing. A few that kind of stood out to me was Microsoft's vision statement, which was a computer on every desktop in every home. So if you go back to when kind of Microsoft was founded, thinking about that, the size of computers, how hard they were, to have in a normal residential home, that's quite a lofty vision, right? And it kind of sets the scene. The other one that I really liked was SpaceX, which actually isn't any written words. It's a picture of Mars with the SpaceX rockets basically there being able to land and take off, and people living on Mars. So yeah, look, a hell of a lot to get through in just an hour, and it was really cool to kind of hear Scott's expertise on this topic and that kind of thing. In terms of the other content covered in week 3, it was really just basically around different business models. So it wasn't as relevant for me as an individual, but basically it built on the whole no code, low code, how to get an MVP out the door, which I kind of touched on last week, and then talked about how you identify different business models, the advantages of different business models, and then some of the things that different investors obviously look for when they're considering investing in these different categories. So for example, software as a service, which is my kind of neck of the woods, versus a marketplace, that kind of thing. So yeah, not I think it was a good kind of week for a little bit of a pause in terms of the depth of content, at least myself personally, because I've had quite a lot to try and get through this week with my startup Oqire. So to dive into that a little bit, the first thing I want to talk about really is the idea that we have one sentence that kind of articulates what our startup is. And with my past startups, I've always kind of got there pretty quickly, but admittedly I'm struggling a little bit with Oqire, and I'm finding that because basically the software solution in this instance is targeted a particular user group and a particular circumstance, landing on those words that make sense not only to that user group but maybe to investors as well is a little bit more tricky. Contrast that to my previous startup Task Pigeon, which was a task management tool. It was very easy for me to articulate what our value proposition was in that situation, and also articulate kind of what we did, and anyone would get it, even if you spoke to someone who has no idea of tech. They understand managing tasks and assigning tasks, that kind of thing. So with Oqire, the previous kind of sentence, and albeit it's not really a sentence, it's almost a bit of a paragraph, that I had was that Oqire is a B2B SaaS solution for other companies selling enterprise software that helps align sales and pre-sales teams from discovery through to demo, ultimately helping increase deal velocity and close more business. Now, the challenge with that, A, it's long, I get that, but a couple of challenges coming up. A, some people don't understand what a pre-sales team is. B, more people were getting a little bit confused about what discovery through to demo means. So I've got 10 plus years experience in this domain, so it resonates with me. I understand what I'm saying, obviously. And just to kind of set the scene, it's very common in enterprise software companies that you have an account executive or a salesperson who's responsible for selling a piece of software, but within their team they'll also have pre-sales consultants, or sometimes called sales engineers, who are the technical consultants, I guess, for lack of a better word, and their job often is to create a demo, deliver the demo, answer technical questions, and really be there to help that salesperson. In a good environment, they'll work as a team, and they both should be seen as equals, right, in helping achieve these sales. So with that context, it's very easy for me to understand what I'm saying, and other salespeople will probably get it as well. And in fact, in the midweek meetup that we had, for the first time in Founder University, I'd kind of stumbled across someone else who was in sales, or at least had been in sales. And when I delivered that pitch, they instantly got it. They understood what I was saying. The challenge was that, the 4 or 5 other founders in the room who haven't worked in sales didn't understand it. So anyway, what I've done is I've kind of changed the wording now, shortened it up. It's not quite there yet. I like the start, don't like the end. So where we're standing today is Oqire helps enterprise software companies close more business by aligning their sales and pre-sales teams from discovery through to demo. So I really like the start. Oqire helps enterprise software companies close more business, because that's really solid. We still have that issue of pre-sales teams from discovery through to demo in there. So if you've seen my demo of my solution previously, you understand that when you are an enterprise account executive and you have a pre-sales team and you're selling enterprise software, you go through this process called discovery, where you're trying to understand what the customer actually wants to see in a particular solution, the challenges that they have, because then you are going to invest significant time, sometimes days if not weeks, into crafting a demo or a POC that you can then take to that customer and ideally win the business. So yeah, look, I know there's a little bit of work to do there, but I'm glad that I've kind of shortened that down. As I said, a little bit more of a challenge compared to some of my previous startups, just because it's almost industry-specific use case, for lack of a better word, or series of words there. Anyway, talked a lot about kind of the course and that kind of thing. I want to jump over and show some of the updates of where I'm at. So let me switch screens for a second. Okay, so currently with Oqire, I just threw up a very straightforward landing page just so that I had something to get going with. But I'm not a designer. I don't pretend to be a designer, and I really wanted to take this and take it to the next level. So I engaged a freelancer, only $100 to get all of this done. So I can also do a video on how I actually work with freelancers. I've been saying this for a while. To get well-designed stuff done at a relatively cheap price, and I am really happy with the design that this particular individual's come up with for me. I got them through Upwork, just in case you're wondering. So nice clear landing page. I basically sent them exactly what I kind of wanted it to be. I like the left-right orientation. I like having product images, that kind of thing. And yeah, I can also share that, I guess, in some other video. I know I've got to do the one on the logo. I'll probably do it on this too, to show how you make sure you get actually what you want when you're working with a designer. The only challenge with this is this kind of shading behind it. It's a little bit harder to achieve from a coding perspective. At least I'm building my landing page on WordPress, so that it's just easy to update content instead of custom coding everything, and I'm having a little bit of trouble achieving that effect, but hopefully I get there. Then we've got our blog page, so I did want to have a feature, a call out to a particular, trending post, that kind of thing, and then just fairly standard, what else has been happening. So I think they're pretty good there in terms of the design, and then the individual blog post as well. Again, like having a featured image. I like having a very clear single column down the middle, not a lot of stuff on the left and the right, like other blog posts or anything like that. Just make it simple and easy to follow. And again, summary of some other posts that they might want to read. So pretty damn happy with the design. Maybe a little bit of feedback to go into each of these, but yeah, it's pretty much on track basically. And I've been working behind the scenes to start building out the next iteration of the homepage to achieve that. The other final thing is the logo. So I've got a collection of logos. Which one is it? I thought I had them all open. Maybe I don't. Give me 2 seconds. I'll just come back to me, and I will just go to logos for a second. Open all those up. Okay, here we go. Cool. And back onto the camera. All right, so get rid of that. Basically, a couple of different logo designs that I got done. Blue and white variant. So basically 4 logos there. I know I kind of ran through that pretty quickly. I've actually chosen this logo variation. I really like it. I might change the font. I'm still working on that, but at least the logo's done. And again, I'm going to share a video eventually on how I do this at relatively low cost. The reason why I like this logo, I just think it's a little bit different, a little bit unique. It's not too out there. It's got clean lines, and that's kind of what I asked for. I mean, all of them do kind of meet that brief, and again, it's basically because of the work that I put into making sure that the logos that I asked for to be designed were going to match what I wanted to see, and that really comes through being planned about it and making sure you're asking, and setting the scene in terms of what you're asking for from a freelancer. So yeah, look, that's basically where we're at with Oqire. Been doing some work on the application itself, of course. Still on track to hit the 15th of August for a launch date. Basically working on some of the back-end stuff, so integrating with Stripe for payment processing, setting up email validation, so when you sign up, you've sent an email to make sure your email actually exists. So not too much stuff on the front end, nothing too exciting to show this week. Anyway, the video is getting on a little bit, so I'll cut it there. Thanks for watching. Hit subscribe if you want to follow along with my founder journey, and I'll catch you in the next one.